Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with the Green Scorpion, and tonight we got another episode from Weapons Month with top 10 video game spear wielders. So, yeah, basically, look out, they're gonna stab you. So, let's see how well these spear users use the spear. So, be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go! Go. Start it up.
Hello everyone, the Green Scorpion here with Weapons Month Week 3. And this week, we're tackling the spear.
Ooh.
Probably even older than the sword, the spear was created by sharpening down sticks and poking enemies with them. The spear has better reach than the sword, and is particularly adept at keeping shorter weapons back with its superiority. Spears are incredibly commonplace in video games, as they are the most common weapons to give guards and faceless soldiers. Because of this, the difficulty of writing this list was finding 10 nominees that were actually interesting outside of the normal guard holding a spear.
Ouch.
The spear is simple to use, since you really just have to stab, and it's so big that you can keep your distance from most melee enemies, so any appointed guard could be expected to do that much. However, as easy as the spear may be to use, it's difficult to master due to its length and rigidity. Those who learn more impressive moves with the spear demonstrate a real devotion to the weapon. Despite the weapon's simplicity, these characters are still able to use the spear to separate themselves from the common soldiers. So now, I present the top 10 greatest video game spear wielders.
There we go.
As usual, only games I've played, and only one per franchise. Alright, let's get started.
So let's see him on the list. First up, number 10.
Starting on a sillier note, we have Orca, Link's sword instructor from Wind Waker. According to his trophy in the Nintendo collection, Orca and his brother Sturgeon once planned to be great swordsmen, but some injury forced him to abandon his dream, so he took up the harpoon and became a fisherman on Outset Island. Out of all the Zelda tutorial masters, Orca is definitely the most entertaining, especially because of how angry he gets when you do the wrong move. Orca also teaches Link the Hurricane Spin if he collects enough Knight's Crests, and the passing of the torch brings tears to his eyes. But let's talk about him as a spearman. True, you'll never see Orca take down any monsters, but in his dojo, he'll challenge you to hit him up to 300 times without him hitting you 3 times. And he'll block almost every strike you make with that harpoon of his. For an old man who is too injured to be a swordsman, Orca has some amazing endurance, and he is able to defend himself indefinitely against a kid who dispatches giant birds and sandworms. I guess the best defense is a good harpoon. He's gotta be strong to be able to hang with Link.
Maybe they is the Toon version.
In the number 9 spot, we have Eric Lacarde from Castlevania Bloodlines, who took up the lance to slay the creatures of the night after his fiancée was turned into a blood-sucking vampire. Apparently, the Lacarde family is partly descended from the Belmont clan. The son of Dracula, Alucard, entrusts Eric with the Alucard spear. Alucard knew that in a time where no Belmont was present, this spear would have to be used to help a non-Belmont harness the full power of the sacred whip, the vampire killer. In Bloodlines, Eric fulfills his destiny and, thanks to his knowledge of spells, gives John Morris the power of the Belmonts. The two then defeat Dracula together. After the events of Bloodlines, Lacarde settles down and has 2 twin daughters. However, they are stolen from him, and he is killed by an evil artist known as Bronner. In Portrait of Ruin, the ghost of Lacarde once again helps by teaching Jonathan Morris the skills he needs to whip Bronner into submission. Eric Lacarde shows that while the spear is not always the flashiest weapon next to the whip or the sword, it is a weapon of discipline that, like Eric himself, can be depended on in times of uncertainty. But Konami, I have to ask you something. We have seen Eric Lacarde as a young man in Bloodlines and as an older, ghostly man in Portrait of Ruin. In Castlevania Judgment, a fighting game that unites Castlevania heroes and villains of all generations, Why in the world would you make Eric a cocky and self-centered 15-year-old boy? Yeah, we get to see even more of his impressive spearing skills, but just why? Why Castlevania Judgment?
I put Konami on that one. But, I guess they wanted to spice things up. Am I right?
Sir Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins may not be the most talented warrior in gaming, but he is definitely one of the most patient. He and Princess Prin Prin were just having a picnic in the single worst place to have a freaking picnic, and unexpectedly, the princess is kidnapped and Sir Arthur has to go rescue her. The original Ghosts and Goblins for the NES and Commodore 64 is one of the most retro-hard games out there. Arthur can find armor to boost his defenses briefly, but one hit and he's down to his undies, and one more hit and he's dead. While Sir Arthur uses a variety of weapons, including daggers, firebombs, and a crossbow, his chief weapon is a big jousting lance.
Oh yeah, I think
he can throw it in his platforming forays, but his real talent can be seen in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Really though, Sir Arthur prefers to keep his opponents at a safe distance with his assortment of small projectiles, rather than getting up close and personal with a lance. But that's the thing of it though, Sir Arthur doesn't have to be fighting hordes of zombies and gargoyles. He does it for the princess, and that's what makes him a truly heroic knight. Sir Arthur has one goal to rescue his stupidly named princess, and he will go through hell, face Lord Astaroth, and get sent back to the beginning of the game and go through hell again to fulfill his duties. Discipline and conviction are the mark of a great spearman, and Sir Arthur has definitely demonstrated it, putting him at number 8.
You lack discipline, oh foreign knight.
As he says that with his undies. We gotta admit, that's an interesting start to the list, so... Again, up to you guys, what do you think? Anyway, moving along. I ain't really have much else to say.
This next character just makes me smile so much. So, you know how in Kirby Superstar Ultra, a Waddle D with a blue hat appears as a joke boss before the masked Dedede?
Yeah?
It makes you wonder why the king would have such a useless servant as his last defense. Well, in Return to Dreamland, Waddle D brings a spear and fills in as the 4th playable character. And he is freaking amazing!
Oh yeah,
yes, Kirby can gain the spear ability and have basically the same moveset, but Waddle D, unlike the Pink Wonder, retains his pike no matter what, and is particularly good at hitting enemies from far away and through walls. Stabbing 12 times per second? Check. Throwing the spear at baddies and having it inexplicably appear back in his stubby hands?
Yep.
Check. And if you hold down the 1 button, oh boy, that is just the cutest thing I have seen in some time. Seeing Waddle D aspiring to be just like Yoshimitsu. Waddle Ds have been shown to carry spears before, along with parasols, but they were always the Goombas of Dreamland. I always liked Waddle D ever since he helped Kirby with funny modes of transportation and crystal shards. Now, he holds his own alongside the Pink Hero, his Penguin Monarch, and even Meta Knight. Keep on trucking, little guy.
Yep. And not to mention, what is the side character in Forgotten Lands, which shows like how the two really work well together, you know? Number 6?
Nephanie is a soldier from Fire Emblem who shows us that you can never be too humble to serve a greater purpose. Nephanie first appears as a recruitable unit early on in Path of Radiance. She almost never speaks, but with enough tenacity, the player can learn a lot about her in support conversations. Nephanie is from a small farming village in Oma in the country of Crimea. When Crimea is suddenly and mercilessly invaded by Dayan, Nephanie and her friend Braum selflessly take to the streets and get themselves captured in a war prison, where Ike finds them. She almost never talks because she is very shy and, amusingly, very self-conscious of her thick country accent.
Dang.
While she isn't always brave enough to talk to people or show her pretty face, she is always willing to put her life on the line for the defense of Crimea. In Radiant Dawn, Nephanie and Braum quell a small revolution in their hometown before going to warn Queen Alincia, and thus she once again gets sucked into a continental war that eventually decides all life as she knows it.
Yeah,
as for her land skills, she is one of the best in the game. Maybe not as damaging as Renning or as defensive as Gatry, but she is just so perfectly well-rounded, and the fact that she is present for so much of the game makes her an easy unit to train. Nephanie starts in the soldier class, making her the first soldier that Americans could recruit in a Fire Emblem game,
Nice.
and can be upgraded into a halberdier in the first game, and again in the second to a sentinel. She is perfect for cleaning up partially damaged foes that your paladins leave behind, and with her shield, which she holds while one-handing the lance, she blocks a lot of hits. She also has great accuracy when throwing javelins, and some really enjoyable critical hit animations.
Nice.
Nephanie was just a country bumpkin, but when she found a cause to fight for, she became one of the most dependable soldiers in Tellius.
Yep. And those spears, look out. You're done if you're caught.
History lesson time!
Ooh.
Dynasty Warriors is a video game series by the developer Koei. The series is based off the novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, written in the 14th century by Lu Guanzhong. The novel, and the video game series by extension, is a romanticized retelling of actually historic events in China between the years 169 and 280 AD. The games themselves revolve around the big war battles in which the player, playing as one of a crap ton of generals, runs around the battlefield effortlessly decimating hundreds of soldiers at a time. I have half a mind to give the number 5 spot to the cast of Dynasty Warriors as a whole, since they are all just so ridiculously overpowered. But that would be lazy, and not all of the generals use a lance. Several of them use swords, nunchaku, or even tonfas. So after some research, and with honorable mention going to Zhao Yun, I choose the unstoppable Lu Bu, who is in fact based on a historic figure that may have actually existed. Lu Bu's name is powerful enough on its own. In Chinese, it refers to an approaching thunderstorm. As a character, Lu Bu is a huge jerk. He sides with no one unless there is something in it for him, and basically, he really wants nothing more than to be the strongest, foregoing any diplomacy or tactics if he can easily mow down those who stand in his way.
See?
Unfortunately, he has a strength to get away with it. Unlike Sir Arthur or Nephanie, Lu Bu really likes to let his opponents know just how great he is. And as much as he boasts, what's even worse is that everything he brags about is true. He is easily the most overpowered character in the series, and with a swing of his weapon, the Heavenly Halberd, men die in droves at his feet. He is also very impressive in mounted combat, riding his horse Red Hair. Lu Bu has been in every Dynasty Warriors game, and it looks like he isn't going anywhere, because he just refuses to die. As much as I talk about discipline with the spear, Lu Bu shows just how wild it has the potential to be.
We will be going over the oversimplified of the Three Kingdoms, but see how crazy this guy was. Trust me.
In League of Legends, champions from different city-states fight in the fields of justice to settle political disputes in the realm of Runeterra. Jin Zhao was a prisoner in the city-state Noxus, where they have a very peculiar gladiatorial event called the Fleshing. Prisoners would fight once a day, and for every round they survived, their next battle would increase the number of opponents they fought simultaneously.
Damn.
Jin Zhao was at 300 when Jarvan II rescued him. In thanks, Jin Zhao served as Jarvan II's protector until his death, and now serves his son Jarvan III. The prince, Jarvan IV, who is another playable champion in League of Legends, was also considered for this spot thanks to his cool extending spear. But Jin's loyalty and crazy finesse made him the better choice as far as my goal is concerned. Jin excels as a jungler and assassin, meaning he can level up by fighting wild animals in the woods until he sees an opportunity to single out a lone enemy champion. Once you see that long, forked great spear pointed at you from the brush, you know it's already too late. Jin's abilities let him teleport to his target, stun and slow them, knock them into the air, and do more and more damage as they desperately try to run. Jin can chase his prey for a long time, and if he is played well, he almost always gets his kill. In theory, this makes Jin a great team player, since he can come to your aid when the enemy least expects it and turn the tides of a lane fight. I also just like Jin's look. His spear looks both vicious and respectable, and his ponytail, referencing the Chinese bodyguard tradition of keeping a long strand of hair as a symbol of discipline, further translates his devotion to his adopted country. And it's a good thing he's so trustworthy, because by my calculations, He must have killed 44,850 men while imprisoned in Noxus. Yikes!
No kidding. Like I said, if you're able to fight 300 men before you're being released, like crap. Jeez, like, you know you're tough when you can face that many men on your own. Like, I mean, I got nothing else to say, but that is nuts. Anyway, time for the final 3. Let's go. Wielders are awesome. Who's next?
The Dragoons from the Final Fantasy series are a perfect example of how years of training can make a very basic weapon into an advanced tool for battle. Although they first appeared in Final Fantasy III for the Famicom, American audiences didn't get to experience the awesome goring power of the Dragoon until they met Kane Highwind from Final Fantasy IV, which is for the Super Nintendo and was called Final Fantasy II. Kane is Cecil Harvey's best friend and loyal to his king, Golbez. But Kane kinda brings a negative light to the whole loyal spear connection. He is so devoted to his country that he kills innocent people to collect the magic crystals Golbez commands him to get.
Oops.
Kane eventually regrets his decisions and joins Cecil's resistance, only to be mind-controlled by Golbez into betraying the party again. Like Cecil, however, Kane eventually reconciles to do what he thinks is right, and has to go through the similar trials to seek repentance, which is more deeply explored in the GBA remake's bonus content. As a Dragoon, or Dragon Knight, Kane has quite an outfit and a powerful spear technique to match it. Kane's signature ability, Jump, is more impressive than it sounds. The Knight launches himself several stories into the air, making him impossible to target for a few rounds. It's basically the Final Fantasy equivalent of a Pokemon using Fly, and it has left Kane unscathed from a party-sweeping insta-death spell on multiple occasions, allowing him to tank the enemy with his tough armor while he dispenses Phoenix Downs. When Kane comes back to Earth, he puts all of his gravitational force into landing the head of his spear into the enemy's body for massive damage. Kane's jump ability and spearmanship would influence many Dragoons for future installments, including Freya from Final Fantasy IX and Kimahri from Final Fantasy X, both of whom could have made this list were not for one advantage Kane has: an appearance in Dudosim Final Fantasy Dissidia 012. The Terror of the Trident gets the opportunity to show off his acrobatic plunges alongside the likes of Terra, Sephiroth, and Gabrynth, and the game really captures his amazing feats of strength. Kane's discipline made him a great spearman, but his ability to question that discipline makes him one of the greatest characters in the Final Fantasy canon. At least so far as Dragoons go. And Dragoons can go pretty far.
I guess we'll see that if they ever make a comeback. I mean, I don't really play Final Fantasy, so I don't know for sure.
Meet Killick, one of the most amazing characters in the Soul Calibur franchise.
What do you got?
With his Kali Yuga in hand, he has some of the most incredibly fun moves, and also some ridiculous reach on his fighting. But he's not on the list.
Oof.
Because that's not a spear. It's a bow.
Ouch.
No, not that bow. That's next week. A bow staff.
Oh.
This is Song Mina, the true holder of the number 2 spot.
I see.
The reason I mention Killick is that he and Mina share the same moves, as they both were trained under the same masters in their backstories. Although some attacks are very similar, Mina is no clone. She has a moveset all her own, and that blade at the end of her staff makes all the difference.
True.
With equally good range, Mina's central moveset involves keeping the opponent at stick's reach with stabs, waves, and spins. However, when she is feeling more daring, she bursts out a few more entertaining combos, especially in Soul Calibur 4.
Nice.
These include vertical flips, pole vaulting, and the oh-so-sleazy crouch shot. She also has a wicked wind-up swing that cracks the ground when it hits.
Damn.
She even learned Killick's coup de grace, where she stands on her weapon and jumps to deliver a vicious blow that easily chops down her opponent's life bar.
Damn.
Playing Mina is very risk-reward based. You can try to just keep them away with the basic moves, then hope they don't breach your defenses, but if you're willing to wager the chance of missing and leaving yourself embarrassingly vulnerable, it can really pay off. All over your enemy's spine.
And
plus,
their health bar.
she meets the standard of blissful ridiculousness, a mandate for all Soul Calibur characters. Mina takes what can be a very strict and conformist fighting style and mixes it with a free spirit to make something truly remarkable to watch. Preferably from a safe distance.
Fair. And here
9 valiant spear wielders have stepped forward,
1 to go.
but only 1 can be named champion. But before we get there, let's recap. Number 10, Orca. Number 9, Eric Lacarde. Number 8, Sir Arthur. Number 7, Waddle D. Number 6, Nephanie. Number 5, Lu Bu. Number 4, Jin Zhao. Number 3, Kane Highwind. And number 2, Song Mina.
Here we go. Number 1.
It had to be him. There was no way it couldn't be. You ask who I'm talking about? I'm talking about the Whirlwind Lancer, the commander of the Dragoon Nobodies, and number 3 of Organization 13, Zolden from Kingdom Hearts. First, let's talk about Zolden's character. Zolden is a straightforward kind of guy. He knows what he wants, and he aims straight at it with precise actions. In Birth by Sleep, a prequel, Ventus meets Zolden's former self, Dylan, who does in fact hold a spear and guards Hollow Bastion. He is one of the 6 apprentices to Ansem the Wise, and though Xehanort leads them to betray their mentor, Dylan is shown to be the most conflicted. He was a somewhat noble knight, and wanted to help Ventus fight off the unversed before he was reminded of his duties by Evan. Like the others, Dylan is involved in a catastrophe that turns him into heartless, and because they are so strong-willed, their bodies become nobodies, husks without hearts. The new nobody, Zolden, retains Dylan's spear-like efficiency and conviction, but loses any compassion or remorse, making him all the more driven. Zolden appears again in 358 Days Over 2, which takes place entirely within the organization's lascivious web. It is here that Roxas accompanies Zolden to the Beast's castle, and Zolden becomes obsessed with the prospect of feeding off the Beast's despair and turning him into a powerful nobody. Zolden spends the entirety of the game, which takes place over the course of a year, studying how to bring the Beast to his knees. This plan is brought into action in Kingdom Hearts 2, when we see Zolden's critical planning in attacking the Beast on an emotional level, stealing the rose, making him doubt Belle's trustworthiness, and altogether piercing his heart. Even without fighting, Zolden performs his actions with the straight and certain sharpness of a spear. But then, when all else fails, Zolden draws his weapons and... oh boy. 6 lances! 6 freaking lances!
Oof. Here.
Zolden also has complete control over the wind, so while he manages to hold up 3 lances at a time, which in and of itself is pretty talented, he also manipulates the air around him to control whatever weapons he isn't holding, and all 6 double-sided dragon lances are swinging and stabbing at Sora simultaneously. Fighting Zolden one-on-one is akin to challenging a small army. He uses them to increase his attack range, he jumps and strikes downward a la Final Fantasy Dragoon, he sends his weapons to surround and execute Sora, and at any given moment he looks amazingly talented and doesn't give Sora a second's rest. And that's not even the worst of it! He can transform his spear regiment into a flying mountable construct and blast Sora from a distance with razor-sharp gales. Can you say Spear Dragon? How about Spear Hydra?
Pretty much.
Zolden is not only the best spearman of all time, his conviction and lack of mercy make him one of the most ruthless warriors in gaming. Truly, no one else deserves to be named the #1 greatest spear wielder in gaming history. I am the Green Scorpion. Thanks for watching. Until next time.
Well, there you go. Zolden takes the top spot. Which, considering he's wielding 6 and the power of wind, I'm not surprised. Which, oh boy, crazy. Anyway, so there you go. The spear wielders for the night. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, adios.